It's been really wonderful to see the power of technology in transforming lives. And I say this not just, the million downloads are great, the monthly active users are great, but the stories that you hear, like I'd shared with you earlier, of transformation are really meaningful.
Did you know?
Did you know the portion of African workers working in agriculture? Stay tuned to the end of this podcast for all to be revealed. My name is Ian Ginn, and I'm the host of Digital Talk. I'm delighted to have Alex Moora from Digital Green as my guest today, who's the country director for Kenya, where they're using AI to help smallhold farmers thrive. Welcome to the podcast, Alex.
Thank you very much, Ian. And my name is Alex Moora, and I serve as country director, as Ian has mentioned, with Digital Green in Kenya. I'm a humanitarian and development professional, having been in this space for about 24 years now.
Wow. And I think it's coming back to the Digital Green, and you do have a background in working in the agricultural space before you mentioned, and I believe you're a smallholder yourself. And one thing you and I have in common, I think we've both got goats, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to have. Can you just, what's the idea? What's the purpose behind Digital Green? Where did it come from?
Yeah, thanks, Ian. The idea behind Digital Green actually starts to about 20 years back. So we were trying to solve for a problem that affects many smallholder farmers across the world, and that is the lack of access to extension services. And by definition, an extension service is provided by an extension worker, and an extension worker is a specialized agent who is able to translate like scientific data or research data to a farmer in a way that is actionable and can be used by a farmer on a farm. And this can be crop or livestock data. So Digital Green started to try and digitize videos. And that's coming from bridging the gap that is there between extension workers and farmers. In most countries in sub-Saharan Africa, that ratio is very high. And the same for other countries like India and many parts around the world. So you find that by the time a farmer receives advice from an extension worker, it might be too late within the season. So Digital Green tried to document videos of agronomic practices to try and bridge this gap. And in that way, they get many extension workers in a room, show them the videos, and that would be cascaded to farmers, or get many farmers in a room and show them videos of agronomic practices, and that would be cascaded to farmers. So the intent was to try and help the smallholder farmer be able to successfully go through a season and come on the other side with a good crop or good livestock and overall improve their livelihoods while trying to solve that extension worker farmer ratio gap through digital tools. And then we did that and saw great success. We trained over 100,000 extension workers. We have over 9 million videos on YouTube and over 80 million views as well on YouTube. So people were watching and interacting with these videos and were seeing great success. We saw the reduction of adopting a practice per farmer per year drop from $35 with in-person discussion with a farmer to about $3.5 through the use of video. So we were observing great success. And then 2020 came and COVID hit, and people couldn't gather the same way they gathered before. And at that point, we began to explore ways to just make sure farmers get the right information that they need. From there, at about 2023, the onset of AI began, and we started piloting with Telegram and WhatsApp chatbots. And then that eventually evolved to Farmer Chat, which is our AI-powered mobile assistant on the Android platform that offers timely, hyper-localized, multimodal advisory to smallholder farmers on their hands as and when they need it. And the same can be used by extension workers as well who are supporting farmers within their network. So that's kind of the story of DG, and we keep farmers at the center of everything that we do.
Very interesting. And if I understand it correctly, basically, you've got this library of content and you're enriching it all the time using AI, of course, now to actually maybe, let's say, make the experience more personal and maybe better for the person, also what their needs might be. But the extension workers are really key to generate that content. And then, of course, you've got this whole idea of one to many. So teaching in that sense, or knowledge sharing, right? Because one video or one episode or knowledge can then be shared across the whole network. And as you mentioned, that's quite extensive. What number was that again? You said of users do you have on using the app? Did you say?
So right now, FarmerChat has over 1.4 million users who are using the app, and about 35% of those are women. And this is across our geographies, which is India, Kenya, Ethiopia, Brazil, and Nigeria. But because FarmerChat is discoverable on the Google Play Store, there are people using it all over the world. But in those geographies is where DG currently has active operations.
Exactly. So people like yourself who are actually, let's say, working with the partners and pushing it out to the neighbors. But as you say, it's actually accessible for all people to download and use. I'll maybe have to try it myself in my little small holding here in the UK. Are you a user yourself?
Yes, I do use it myself, and I encourage you to try it out. And we are very keen on feedback, so I'd be glad to hear your experience with your goats, by the way.
With my goats, well, we'll have to look it up there. That's fantastic.
Today's episode is sponsored by IFG Consulting Europe, who help operators to tap into technologies to accelerate digitization of the network, drive revenues, and reduce costs by championing promising software providers in telecoms, enterprise, and mobile markets. Go to ifgconsultingeurope.com to find out more.
So one of the things I think, given that, when you're building such a project, is shareholder value and stakeholder value, I guess, maybe in your case, as you're a non-profit organization, right? You're an NGO, aren't
Right.
you?
Yes, we are an NGO.
So basically, you've got your stakeholders rather than anything else. But what sort of information, how are you proving the impact of FarmerChat? How are you measuring it as well? And how are you reporting it back to those stakeholders or the various, not just the people, let's say from a financial perspective, I guess the whole community as stakeholders in some form or another. But how did you go about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I mentioned, we deployed a FarmerChat in September of 2024. So a year later, we conducted an external study with 60 decibels here in Kenya, where I serve, and the results were fascinating. Of course, there's a long way to go in terms of improving the product and making it more user-friendly. But we are learning that 83% of the farmers who were interviewed had experienced such a tool for the first time. So it had some novelty to it. But then during the video days, we were seeing like a 7% adoption of practice. And with FarmerChat, we saw up to 70% of people adopting a practice within the last month. And we also learned that women are sharing the product more within their networks than men through the net promoter score. They had a higher net promoter score. So we are learning. And beyond that study, we are actually doing an RCT here in Kenya and another in Ethiopia that will help us understand more on the impact indicators you're referring to. Like, what does this mean for livelihoods, for example, and income? Yeah, so we're trying to see that. But as regular practice, we like to listen to the user. So we have regular user feedback sessions where we go back to the users, who are the farmers, and ask them about the product, what their perceptions are on components with the product, what challenges they're facing, and then try to consolidate those and improve the product based on regular user feedback. So based on the feedback that we started collecting from September 2024, actually deployed a version 2 of the app in March. So 100% of the users in Kenya are using version 2. And then India, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Brazil will also get onto version 2. And it's more friendly for the user, very, very image-based, but still offering the same hyper-localized, timely advisory that a farmer needs, whether they're using text, whether they're using voice, or taking a picture of a sick plant or a pest that they've discovered on their farm and uploading it and be able to get a diagnosis and a way to resolve the problem on their farm.
So I guess as part of your job, you also will be part of these user group discussions. So I wonder if in let's say that line of work, you can also for our audience give us some idea of maybe an individual's case or a situation whereby it really has had an impact on the farmer or their family or the community. That'd be very helpful, I think, and it really shows people reality of what
Yeah.
difference these sort of these things have.
Yeah, the stories are many. And for me, they really center the work that we do. I've spoken to very many farmers in Nyeri and Nandi. Even just in February, I was in Nyeri with my colleagues, and we met this farmer who is a lady, and she's retired, and she resorted to doing farming. Her farm wasn't as productive when she was working. And she's now back at the farm and it's thriving. She made a choice to just grow only organic food. Farmer Chat was able to help her do that. Her coffee is doing well and she's learned ways to mitigate diseases through organic methods. And then beyond that, which I think is something important for smallholder farmers, is a little bit of diversity because farmers are prone to climatic shocks, like drought, for example. So this lady was able to diversify the number of things that she's doing on her farm, not too much, but just enough. So she has her coffee, but she does keep a few chicken. She has her vegetable garden that she's also using for her daily needs. And she keeps goats as well for regular milk. So the tool then becomes very handy because a farmer is able to draw from this wealth of knowledge and get timely advisory that is actionable. And then another story is a lady in Nandi who was saying that before she got Farmer Chat, everything was just trial and error. She would just try this or try that because she's not able to get advisory services. So she was growing her avocado trees. And then in the first season, I think she only got like 2 avocados and was wondering what the issue was.
Right.
And she went into Farmer Chat and was able to get advice that she should prune her trees. They're not getting enough sunlight. And that's what she did. She pruned her trees and she's on to a good harvest. And has also diversified and tried out new crops. And then, from an extension worker standpoint, the goal is not to replace the extension worker, but to also enable them to do their job. And one extension worker I spoke to said, a farmer chat is actually useful because when I'd get a question from a farmer, I'd go back to my office to a pile of documents and books and read through to try and give a response to the farmer. And here I can use farmer chat, be able to ask the question the farmers are asking, and then share that with the farmers or groups of farmers within their network. So it's also an enabler from that standpoint to be able to get timely advisory to smallholder farmers. So the stories are many, and it's just lovely to hear how farmers are able to get onto a pathway of thriving and building resilience to shocks.
Some great stories, and I like that, as you say, about diversification. I think if you do in the financial world, there's portfolio theory, which is also around your investments as well, in a way that's no different fundamentally. Agriculturally or farming is also you're divesting, or let's say putting your eggs in more than one basket, as we say in English.
Right.
As well, but it's all a lot of work, right? So I just wanted to come back to, I know you're a charity or let's say an NGO of some sort. How do you finance yourselves? How does that happen? Because it all costs money, right?
Yeah, it all costs money. It costs money to build the tech, to run the tech, and to continuously improve it. So right now, Digital Green is largely funded by philanthropy. So we do have supporters and partners who really help us get this tool to the farmers who deserve it. And we are exploring other models. Like I mentioned, we're at 1.6 million farmers, 1.4 million farmers now, and we want to get to scale. And we think scale will help us diversify income models. It's worth mentioning that we have tried engaging with telcos on different levels. We do have a partnership with Econet in Zimbabwe, have white labeled Farmer Chat, and they are able to get it to their farmer network for a small fee. And then we are able to maintain the tech for them. So we are exploring those types of partnerships but scale is an important function of that. And we want to scale meaningfully so that we are getting to more farmers, but the monthly active use or the users using Farmer Chat and coming back to it every month is still at a good level, as well as making sure that 45% of women are able to be using Farmer Chat in a meaningful way.
Just coming back to that scaling aspect and the telcos, you were saying that they have they pre-installed it now on the devices, or it's still downloadable? I'm just trying to understand, how do you see the telcos helping you scale?
They can help scale by pushing Farmer Chat within their networks. So they either through mobile apps that they have, and Farmer Chat is discoverable there, and they make people know that it's discoverable. So they have the networks, and people in those networks are also smallholder farmers. So that's how the app then becomes discoverable.
Just to close, if you like, the loop, the economic loop there, and if any
Yes.
telcos are listening, if
Yeah.
they can improve the financial well-being of their customers, right?
Yes.
Then of course they have more money. If they have more money, they can maybe pay more for their mobile subscription. So just an idea for you, Mr. Telcos. One idea is you could zero rate it, right? They could zero rate it for you and therefore make it even more usable for the people without having to worry about whether they're using their money.
Data.
But that's just something to their data as well. So if we come back to the use of AI as well, can we just talk about how do you make sure that it's really sort of accurate and complete as in the advice that you're providing? Because of course, you know, it's only as good as the information in there. But how do you sort of control the app and make sure that it's still meeting its objective?
Yeah, that's an important question. So we call from Agri-LLMs, which are smaller language models, and these have information that's agriculture based. So that helps with the first layer of making sure that the quality is good. And then we do the machine learning benchmarking to make sure that the model is working correctly, pushing the right answers. Our tech team is constantly monitoring questions and answers and able to fine tune the model from a tech standpoint. And then another important piece of work that we do is keeping the human in the loop. And this is reinforcement learning from human feedback. So while the question and answers are continuously improving and are benchmarked, we try get humans who look at question and answer pairs that have been generated by our tech team, and they are able to review them on a platform that we've developed, make corrections on the questions, asking, is this question reading in the way that it should read? And then look at the answers to those questions and is that the correct answer to this question? Does it need updating? It could have been an answer relevant in the year 2000, but it's 2026. So does it need updating? And then we have another set of expert agronomists who now validate what the reviewers have done and are able to mark, annotate, and if an answer is not correct, if they are like not happy with an answer, they're able to push it back. And with that, we are able to generate what we call golden Q&A pairs that now are like fine-tuned, and the model is constantly fine-tuned and giving better answers for farmers. So that's work that we are doing on an ongoing basis to make sure that the answers getting to the farmers are as accurate as possible.
And how, given we were talking a minute ago about the scaling of it as well, how do you see, or are there anything, innovations or partnerships that you think would help to accelerate that from your perspective? And also I'm thinking of remote areas. I don't know if that's a challenge in itself, but those sort of areas, if you what you know, again, there's a hopefully a community listening to this. You know, maybe there's some clever people on the call that can help you with that. But you know, up to you. Have you got some innovations you'd like to see?
Yeah, I think telcos are one because of their wide reach, not only in urban peri-urban areas, but also rural areas. But we also do, despite the fact that FarmerChat is discoverable on the Google Play Store and people can find it and download it and begin to use it very easily, we do on occasion work with partners who are like at the last mile and are able to get them onboarded on FarmerChat, and we use a trainer of trainer models to cascade that information. So partners are important. This could be NGOs or INGOs who are working in those areas. We do work with, on occasion, cooperatives and cooperative groups in rural areas because they have groups of farmers that we work with. But I think a key pathway to scale, telcos can be one, just because of the reach that they have. And I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Yes, agreed from what you're saying. And what are the plans for the future, would you say, to create larger impact? Have you got anything, that could be out there that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, we do have plans. Hopefully by March of 2027, be at 4 million downloads and installs with healthy monthly active use of over 35%. We intend to get 45% women using the app. We know that it's not that easy to get women on digital platforms, but we are ambitious and think that it's worth getting women onto these platforms because they do form a significant part of the workforce in terms of smallholder farmers. And then we also want to continue building evidence. We've learned a lot in the past year and a half. We'll continue building evidence. I mentioned we're doing some randomized control trials. So we'll see those to conclusion and continue generating more evidence. I mentioned earlier that we had conducted a study with 60 decibels in September of last year. So we'll go back to those same farmers this year and see how they've progressed. And maybe then we can have a conversation on how those farmers have done.
It sounds very promising and very sort of methodical and scientific. That's good. But the thing is, given that you've only been really with the app anyway, not in business for that long, impressive number of downloads, and I think the industry, you've already won some industry awards. So one that I've written down here is the AI for Prosperity Award from the UNI for Good Summit 2025 you won, and then the World Summit Award for Environmental and Green Energy was the other one. So what does this mean for you as an organization, winning these
awards? It means
awards?
a lot. It means a lot. And it's a great honor to the organization because it's a recognition of the efforts Digital Green has done in the past for smallholder farmers across the world, but then also how AI can be used for good and be used to transform lives and livelihoods. So for us, it's a great honor, but also a great motivation to do more for smallholder farmers, not only in sub-Saharan Africa or India, around the world, and make sure that they get timely advisory.
So that brings me on to a nice question about yourself, because of course there's motivation involved on your side. So what do you get out of being involved with this project?
Yeah, having been in the development space for so many years, it's been really wonderful to see the power of technology in transforming lives. And I say this not just, the 1 million downloads are great. The women using the app are great. The monthly active users are great. But the stories that you hear, like I'd shared with you earlier, of transformation are really meaningful. And you think of development in the sense of going community by community, which is critical and very important. Sometimes the pace is slow and the needs are increasing. So I see this as trying to match up to the multiple crises that may affect a farmer at any point in time, and tech being used to do that. So it's been very meaningful for me to see impact at scale and continue to learn from that, continue to listen to the users of the product, who are the smallholder farmers, and be able to iterate the product to meet their needs and be able to chart new territory in how technology can be used for good.
Yeah. And that also brings me on to the sort of next line of thought, which is regarding, given your 23 years of experience, having seen a lot of things, what do you now consider some of the most pressing issues other than the work you're doing, which should be addressed? Again, it might give some people on this podcast some ideas of what else could be done or should be done as a priority.
It's a great question, Ian. The world is facing some pressing issues. One, I think we are in a polycrisis, a situation where multiple crises are happening, not in a nonlinear fashion, but compounding each other. So I think in this age of the humans, which the scholars call Anthropocene, we are seeing that polycrisis, whether it's climate change and the impact that it has on rainfall patterns, or wars and unrest, situations of conflict, or the effects that come out of that, like rising fertilizer prices due to shortage or the lack of even fertilizer. So I think that's a pressing issue that needs our collective effort to be able to help those who are most vulnerable become resilient, but then also do what we can to contribute to making the earth a better place in any way that we can. So I think that's that's a major issue that I see. And to add to that, I think the needs around the world that are developmental in nature are far outweigh the resources that are available. And that also needs consideration because the needs won't go away based on like the multiple crises that are happening.
Yes, it's true. Totally. I think you've hit some interesting points. Very big issues, and they're not going to be solved easily. But I agree with you, Alex, that there are, a lot of pressing issues, and I think it's really quite important at this stage that, given, let's say, the uncertainty and let's say the noise happening in the world, we still have to carry on and do what we can, right? So not to give up hope and believe that tomorrow's better. I think that's an important message for the people. And in fact, if everyone does their little bit, it will create a better world. That would be my message. And, no doubt you guys on a daily basis are contributing to that. So we really appreciate that. Now, last year we were guests to the AI for Good Summit, which we're going to again this year, which is in Geneva, which is, of course, where you also won your award. But one of the things which was the highlight of it, they said, Generation Alpha are brought up in the world of AI from birth. So given your background as well, entrepreneurial thinking, if someone wants to be involved with AI and wants to be an entrepreneur and do AI for good, any advice for them?
And that's a fascinating point of view that Gen Alpha is actually growing up with AI from the start. But for when they get to an entrepreneurial stage, I would say that I would encourage young entrepreneurs to ask, what problem are we trying to solve? And then build for that. So find the why. What's the problem that you're trying to solve? And then build for that. And then I would also say, or provide advice in that keep humans in the loop and build with them. I think tech should also advance humanity in that way. So I'd say continue keeping the user and humans in the loop. And then in general, with all tech, I don't think it should replace our ability to think critically. So I think it's a great enabler, but I think we should allow room for just continual critical thinking and see if also these tools can build social bonds and social connections, for which I think they can.
I say it's good advice as helping humanity. I mean, it's purpose driven, right? Which I think is fundamentally good business practice anyway. And certainly that's the best way of actually achieving good fundamentally if you're solving people's problems. So that, gives us great pleasure on this podcast to also do good. And we also want to always give our guests the opportunity to give a shout out for a partner, a team, or initiative which deserves recognition or attention. Do you have something in mind there that you'd like to give a shout out?
Yeah. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all our partners and supporters in different ways. The donors who fund our work, we are truly grateful that you can continue to support us. I'm grateful for our CEO and co-founder, Rikin Gandhi, for starting the vision of Digital Green. So a big shout out to him for that, and all the Digital Green teams around the world. To be able to deploy a product like FarmerChat takes a collective effort. It definitely takes teamwork, different teams looking and bringing their expertise to be able to create this tool that helps smallholder farmers build resilience in the long term. And lastly, but not least, smallholder farmers around the world, a big shout out to them. They are a very, very important part of our food production systems. So a big shout out for the effort they put out every day. And it's a great honor to be able to make their lives measurably better through tools like FarmerChat.
Yeah, good shout out indeed. So you're now part of Digital Talk family. It's been a real pleasure to have you on the podcast, Alex, and learn how Digital Green and its AI-powered digital-assisted farmers chat delivers real value, climate-smart farming advice to help farmers boost productivity and incomes.
Thank you, Ian. Truly appreciate the opportunity to share how FarmerChat is doing around the world. And I also applaud you for amplifying these stories. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Did you know?
Over 60% of the workforce is in agriculture. What that means is that when a telecom partners with a service like FarmerChat, they're not just serving a niche, they're serving the majority of their customer base with something that directly impacts their livelihoods. So if you're a telecom CEO and you want to know, how do we add value beyond voice and data? The answer is sitting in fields that are being tilled by smallholder farmers.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to rate us and subscribe, and feel free to follow us on LinkedIn. And if you have comments or ideas for future episodes, please send us an email. Thanks for being part of the Digital Talk community and for listening. Stay tuned.